In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel, episode number 110.
One of our in-person series, either number 3 or number 4.
I think it's 4.
I know 2019 for sure.
Yeah,
2021.
now it's 3.
Right. Also, it depends. Did we do one when I first moved up here?
We did one before you moved up here, I think.
Yeah, in April, but did we
yeah.
do one that January?
Yeah, we did also. I think it's 4.
Okay, so 4. Yeah. This is a great way to start it off. But yeah, we're here in person. We are making a yearly tradition out of the 4th of July because why not take a holiday and turn it into something that affects you?
Yeah, right.
Instead of honoring them, let's honor ourselves.
Yep.
Which that in itself will be controversial.
Alright, yeah, so we're talking free agency this episode, starting with the NHL. Alright, so we have a flurry of Carolina signings.
Yeah, so they were probably the biggest game hunters so far in this free agency period. So they, not necessarily only in players that they pursued externally, but bringing back. I have my thoughts on the Anderson and Ranta 1-2, but they brought him back, but they've also pursued some defensive and fourth line help as well.
Yeah, with Orlov and Bunting. I don't have as many reservations with the Anderson Ranta 1-2, and also I think both contracts are kind of short. Two years for one of them, 1 year for Ranta. Two years for Anderson, 1 year for Ranta, I think.
I believe so. There was no way Ranta got 2 years.
Yeah.
Not at the age of 34.
Yeah, so I think it's okay. I mean, it still keeps them competitive.
Anderson 2 years, $6.8 million. Ranta 1 year, 1.5.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine in terms of average annual value to keep them competitive. They will still be competitive next year. They're probably still going to make a few more moves, I think, whether they be small or big.
Yeah, we are hearing rumors, of course, as soon as we started recording this, that they're one of the teams in pursuit, along with the Ottawa Senators of all teams, for Vladimir Tarasenko. But if that doesn't work out, they have pursued offensive help in the form of winger Michael Bunting, 3 years, $13.5 million. I don't know what you make of that one.
I think it's a little high for a third, fourth liner.
Especially one that now we know that playoff Bunting is quite a different animal.
Yep.
But they also, and according to CBS Sports, that Dmitry Orlov was, quote, the number 4 free agent. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
A lot of teams to be the number 4 free agent. But 2 years and $15.5 million for him on the back end. I don't know here. I don't know who the Hurricanes lost, but I always thought them being a fairly prominent defensive group anyway. What was really the point of fortifying it even further? But I guess they have more concerns on that front than I do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Orlov is bad, but I do think, he's probably their second pairing D-man. There's no way he's a third pairing D-man.
No way at 15 some million. Or
7, I think.
15.5 million over 2 years. There's no way that he's second or anything worse than second pairing.
Fair.
And at that price point, you better kind of be first. You would think, A lot of teams are paying their first a lot less.
True.
But Orlov, this past year, 36 points, career high, I guess. Not the most offensive defenseman, but
Yeah.
it does pay off to just be a good defenseman, and that's kind of what he is. Not a lot of penalty minutes. He's only had one season where he was minus. So
I think he's a solid.
He's solid,
defenseman.
and I guess that consistency is rewarded.
Yeah. All right. We have Miles.
I don't like how the graphics when we uploaded to Google Drive did this when you downloaded it, because I did not have them looking like a funhouse mirror. But yeah. Anyone who watches the YouTube videos in for a treat.
Yeah, I mean, so we have Colorado Avalanche giving Miles Wood 6 by 2.5. I actually think that's a lot lower than Miles Wood would have wanted, so I'm surprised he agreed to that. But I guess 6 years is 6 years, and it's $15 million.
Well, my thoughts are this: when you see a player like Miles Wood, who's not necessarily known for offensive prowess, and knowing that he's a third or fourth line player, probably more likely fourth. Whenever you see longer terms, you kind of know, okay, this is your chance. And we've seen that with Tanev. We've seen that with Brock McGinn. Of course, I'm only naming Penguins here because we fuck up those contracts regularly. But when you are willing to give 5-6 years to a fourth liner, do not be surprised if they say yes, because we're in an era of the game where they're so easily replaceable that committing to one is the best way to keep your career going.
I think Miles Wood is a great locker room guy, and he's a great guy to keep energy on the ice, right? He will give 110% every shift, and that is. He has that worth, but I really thought that we would be seeing a $3 million AAV. I know I'm not. It's 2.5, $3 million is not that far off, but still, I was kind of surprised looking at that 2.5.
So let's see here. This guy takes the worst headshots I've ever seen, other than Tanev. I mean, he had 27 points last year. The year before that, he only played 3 games.
Yeah, he was hurt.
He is not a plus player by any means. He's a negative 63 for his career.
Yeah, but he is the guy who will go and go out there and take a shot to protect your young guy or if one of your guys had.
And that's fine, but you don't need 6 years of that guy.
True, but I mean, a minus 63 also is minus 10 per year at this point because he's been in this.
I mean, I hate to break it to you, when he was 21 in his second year, he was minus 21. It's quite a way to celebrate. So yeah, I don't know. He seemingly is better than he was. He was seemingly horrible in the plus minus department for a long time, but over the past 3 years, or 2 of the past 3 years, I'm not going to count the fact that he was -2 in 3 games, seems to have worked something out.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a defensive game that he's definitely got better at it. I'm not going to say he's great at it, but he's definitely out there more to, keep the energy going. He's very good at the offensive side of the game. He's definitely been getting better at the defensive side of the game, though.
Okay. Sounds fine to me. I mean, this is the Ryan Reeves to the Penguins thing in 2018 is the Avalanche, they're not the defending champs, but they won a championship recently, and it wasn't off the heels of this kind of player.
No.
So it's not Reeves adjacent in the sense of it's about go beat a guy up, but it is adjacent in that this doesn't really complement the style of play that they won a championship with.
But I do think that they need if anything, right? They don't have one major key player next year. He's probably going to be on LTIR. right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, Landeskog, great.
yeah, like maybe especially because a lot of the players on their team are changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they need somebody like him in this new team. He's definitely a presence in the locker room. He obviously has a different style of play, but I feel like whoever they put on his line can cope with it.
No, they're gonna have to.
Yeah, fair. All right. Let's go on to your favorite signing so far.
Well, I'm not like a lot of people in the sense that I think it's horrible that he's back. I do think that if there were available options that were upgrades at goaltender that were obtainable with the assets that the Penguins had, that they should have gone for it. But I also understand, and we've talked at length in this in the time that you've been here, is that replaceable and exchangeable goaltenders are the ones that hit the open market or are available to trade. The ones that are very good, the ones that are worth keeping, are kept. And it's not like the NBA where top 5 players hit the open market and they get paid,
Max.
max deals, or they get paid top dollar on a regular basis. That's why when you see like Grubauer with Seattle signed for as much as he did, is because it's an anomaly that would happen in the first place. Now, the thing that's wrong with the Jari deal is that it's 5 years and $26.875 million.
Yes.
Especially with a new GM president who seemingly was not very convinced of his abilities. That is quite the commitment, and I think if he's proven right, it'll be the best thing that happened.
I mean, I think that it's already starting off on a bad foot because he's not like a generational goaltender like Sorokin.
He's the worst two-time all-star goaltender in the past 15 years.
Yeah, he's not like a generational talent like Sorokin or even Shesterkin who will be getting big deals.
And apparently he's got a very bad hip.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know,
So,
very important for a goaltender to have good hips.
Yeah, and so I think it's already like the deal is already putting so much expectations on him. You have a 5-year deal. He's not in the best of health with his hip, and it's a lot of money. And I don't think a lot of Penguins fans are happy.
Right, but at the same time, when I say only serviceable yet replaceable goaltenders hit the open market, the only other option out there was Jonas Korpisalo, which is stats will probably say he's comparable. I'm not going to say that Jari or Korpisalo are. I'm not going to go into they're better at this. They'd be better in the playoffs. This and that.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I agree.
Serviceable but not solid goaltenders that are available. And then, of course, we find out today that John Gibson is demanding a trade, has refused to play another game for the Ducks, and maybe he would have been available, but it's kind of hard to believe that they wouldn't have kicked the tires on that idea and given Anaheim a call anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. All right, and on the Devils side, we re-signed the rest of the BMW line.
I'm sorry. We've been here 5 days. You said nothing about a BMW line.
It was Bastian McLeod Wood BMW.
Oh, let's hope they didn't sell shirts for that.
Hey, you never know.
I mean, I got the HBK line shirt, and I wore that shirt one time, and I donated it.
Yeah, so I mean, we signed these guys to both. McLeod had 1 year, 1.4, and Bastian is 2 years and 1.3 average. So Yeah, I think they both were instrumental along with Wood, but I didn't think we would pay Wood what he wanted, and I thought that was over $3 million. So I'm really glad we were keeping these two. Yeah, and I think my co-host is looking for BMW line merch.
I am. And the fact that I have to go to Fanatics website means that you guys don't have a fan base that did it themselves.
Yeah, I thought somebody at least made it for themselves.
This is not. Why is there a fucking baseball jersey? Anyway, yeah, this is not looking promising. I'm gonna go ahead and just say no. Because I don't really want to go through the whole Fanatics website.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody made.
Honest to God, I've never found a team that has less represented attire than this one. Like, does Newark not have like pop-up shops? Like, you've been to the Strip District here. And, like, all the fucking secondhand shit. Like, is it just because there is no true city in New Jersey?
It's also Newark as a city is not one that people are out in.
That's fair. You don't really set up a tent shop there.
Yeah. So it'll be good for the Devils. We're keeping a lot of them. We also re-signed a few people on RFA
For
deals.
now. Yeah.
So, yeah, we're looking good. We also had a trade. Or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we acquired Colin Miller for our 5th round pick in 25. I think that's okay. And we also got Tyler Toffoli for Igor Sharangovich and a 2023 3rd round pick, which was this past draft. I'm kind of sad about that one, but I mean, Toffoli's contract is another year.
He's coming off a year where he scored 34 times, 73 points. He is only, 30? He's going into his age 31 season.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, he's in his prime. It's not the worst time to bolster that part of the lineup for the Devils. The problem is what it's going to do for your roster.
But the big thing is, I think it's only one more year left on his deal. So, like, we'll have a more cash opening up to sign the guys who are coming up next year for contracts, which are Akira Schmid and Dawson Mercer.
Yes, last year of his deal.
So there's good and bad to be said about that, but it'll definitely be something we have to address.
Yeah.
All right, and now we get to the Lou Lamoriello segment.
Lamoriello,
however you want to call him.
Both the right way.
Yeah.
Not with additional,
Yeah, he deserves it.
In lieu of those rings, if you get what I'm saying.
Yep. So let's talk about the good first. They extended Sorokin a year early.
Mm-hmm. Their highlight goaltender.
Yeah, not on this. But then they also re-signed their backup goaltender to a pretty big deal, Semyon Varlamov.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't like it.
I mean, because we were just kind of tracking all day on July 1st. And my head popped up and was like, initially, like, he's still in the league. Like, how? Because goaltenders don't really have the shelf life that they, I guess, could have if they weren't goaltenders. But at the same time, Varlamov being a backup is, I guess, tolerable. He and Marc-Andre Fleury are probably the only ones to make it to, like, their age 37, 38, 39 seasons.
Yeah.
And still in the league, but I probably could have guessed that he would long since been out of the league.
Yeah, but also he got a pretty hefty contract, I think.
In terms of, let's see,
both term and money.
All right. Well, it didn't show up on CBS Sports, which just goes to show you CBS Sports. Semyon Varlamov contract. It's not actually 4 years and $11 million, is it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
4 years and $11 million.
Yep.
He's 35 years old right now.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. I think 4 years is too much. And also, $11 million. It's like what, two and three quarters for a goaltender, which doesn't seem too bad. until you realize that they're paying their star goaltender starting the season after.
Until you realize
$9 million.
that his cap hit actually goes up as he gets older. I mean, it's not a lot, but it still goes up.
Hey, whatever. Yeah, so, and
Although I
then...
will say, and I'm sorry to interrupt, in 2019 they gave him 4 years and $20 million, so
Yeah, it's
they,
good.
they did make it, so he lost value.
Yeah, but also he's a
All
different...
of his money guaranteed.
He has a different role now, where he was expected to kind of be like the starter for a little bit when the first contract
They
came.
give him a no trade clause? A full no trade clause?
For 2 years, and then
And
modified.
then 16 team no trade. You giving your backup goaltender who's 35 years old a full no trade clause for 2 years?
Hey, Lou Lamoriello, man.
Okay, overpay. Overpay. Not just the 11 million. You don't give a backup goaltender a place of a voice of reason like that.
But yeah, the true reason that this is up on here is Pierre Engvall and Scott Mayfield.
Yeah, and Pierre is quite something in that.
Both of them have 7-year contracts. Can you believe it?
Well, no.
And both of them are $3 million or $3.5 million. I forget.
Somewhere between 3 and 4.
Yeah. Okay.
But Engvall signed a 7-year, $21 million contract, and then Scott Mayfield. Let's see here, Scotty Mayfield. Boy, we're telling him to be on Wi-Fi. Oh shit! All right, 7 years, $24.5 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3.5 and 3.
Yeah, I don't think I would take players through their late 30s with 7-year deals. Would you?
Well, neither of them are in their late 30s.
Well, through. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they will end it on the back half of their late 30s.
Yeah, I mean, Engvall will be 34, and Mayfield will be 37, 38.
He would have played the 37-year-old season, right? So he'll be 38, I think.
37?
He'll be a UFA at 37. Okay.
Oh boy, that is not great.
Yeah. I mean, the Engvall one, he'll be 34. So, I mean...
So if I told you that in 29-30 that Scott Mayfield is going to own 9% of the cap hit, and then at that same point in time, Engvall is going to hold on to another almost 8%. You have 17% of your cap going to those two.
But that's
that
not
don't exactly scream sexy to me.
Isn't that not the true number? I don't think that number is accurate.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go against Spotrac, but, you know, if you want to do that...
I will go against Spotrac saying that number is probably not accurate.
I mean, what are the chances that one of these guys gets bought out? That's a real question.
I think there is a very high chance that Mayfield gets bought out.
And if I'm sorry, that's Pierre. God damn it. You threw me the wrong way. Scott Mayfield. Shit.
Yeah.
Come on.
And if he gets bought out?
If he gets bought out, it's going to be 1.17, basically 1.17 million till 2037.
Okay. Cool.
Not quite DiPietro bad, but pretty bad.
But DiPietro's bad. Alright, on to the next talking point. Mr. Erik Karlsson coming off a career year at his old age.
Yes, and also I read today that people think that the Norris Trophy shouldn't be given to offensive defensemen because it's basically a way of saying that you're just the best non-traditional defenseman.
I do think they should
Which
have
I actually kind of agree with.
I think they should have an award for defensive defenseman, but how do you give one? Because I don't understand.
Well, this was it, and they just changed it.
Yeah, but the point is, like, how do you stat a defensive defenseman? Like, what stats are good for them?
Plus minus for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Shots blocked.
Okay.
Hits.
I mean, hits are kind of
Well,
street.
hits in moderation. If you could build a formula, you would include hits.
Yeah, because, like...
In moderation. You don't... It's one of those things where, like, shots blocked and plus minus are weighted heavier. but then you maybe throw half a point to hit. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, he is currently, basically on his way for a new home.
Well, yeah, he today decided that he had enough of San Jose, which kudos to him for, I guess waiting this long, considering he's been in San Jose for, I don't know, it looks like at least 5 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So, what do you feel about your team being the center of that list?
I don't want it. I really don't. I don't look. I'll say this: his base salary gets better every year going forward. He has a top-heavy deal, but the problem is his cap hit is stagnant. It's 11.5 a year, and we talked about this. I don't want Chris Letang and Eric Carlson. We already have offensive defensemen, and that's the reason why the defense in front of the goaltender is always shit. Not to mention the fact that our offensive players are not always necessarily defensively aware enough to be competent in this stage of their careers. So it doesn't make it any better when you decide, okay, we're going to triple down on it.
Yep. So my personal ask is it stays out of the top two teams and he can just go to the Kraken, man. I don't want him in the Metro.
I honestly, Carolina doesn't need him.
Yeah, that also.
That's one thing that doesn't make any sense to me, because if I look at Carolina, and let's go to defensemen here, we're talking about Dmitry Orlov, Jacob Slavin, Brent Burns, Brady Shea, Brett Pesce, Jalen Chatfield. There is absolutely no need here for Eric Carlson. This defensive core is completely fine.
Yeah.
And not to mention the fact that them standings-wise has worked with this core.
Yep.
And that is a primarily defense group. And yeah, Brent Burns gives you a little offensive touch, nothing too much. And yeah, Brady Shea probably the same thing, but like
Favin and Orlov are pretty dang good defensively.
Yeah, I'm saying offensively, you do have pieces that do that for you. Yeah. I just don't understand what Eric Carlson does, because you basically have to change the game plan for him.
Yeah,
and
so
why would you do that?
Kraken, just give up a lot and take him. So the Metro.
Well, the Kraken have the assets to do it.
Yeah,
in theory, because of them being an expansion team. Yeah. Now, granted, they didn't take on all the picks that Vegas did when Vegas.
Yeah, because they weren't allowed to.
Yeah, they changed the model.
Yeah, which sucks for them, because it actually made the first
they just gave them the number 2 overall pick, and basically he said, here's generational wealth.
Mm-hmm. All right, and also there are some rumors around Connor Hellebuck.
He doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, wanting a trade. So there are rumors also that the Devils are in on it, but man, I would rather us stick with Vanecek Schmid. I know that some people think that Schmid still needs a little bit of time in the AHL, but I think he'll do just fine if you throw him in the NHL.
And my theory is if he's good enough to throw out in the playoffs, then you might as well just throw him out in an NHL regular season game, because at that point that's basically the AHL.
I do think you can definitely control his play time. Give Vanecek most of the starts, but not by a large margin. But he's definitely NHL
I think
ready.
You just ease him into being the number 1 over time.
Yeah. But
just
again,
fizzle Vanecek out, because Vanecek is competent, but he's nothing great.
But I think we have Vanecek for a few years.
Yeah, because basically Seattle took him, signed him, and then sent him back to the Capitals, and then I think Capitals sent him to you guys.
Yeah, but then we signed him for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah,
with this guy.
So we have another 2, and we have to re-sign Schmid after next year because he's at the end of his ELC.
Yeah. I mean, you guys can get out of Vanacek before he's 30. That's not bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't
You guys got a second round pick with him.
Yeah. But again, I don't see why. Like I understand Hellebuck is a really good goaltender, but we'd have to give up a lot, and I don't think we should. Especially because our window isn't anywhere near closing. So I think that giving up so much for Hellebuck is not the right idea.
He was number 5 in save percentage at 92.
Yeah.
In terms of wins, he was number 5 with 37.
37?
Goals allowed.
Uh,
Yeah, it's not gonna help me.
no, it doesn't help at all.
Alright, well, it appears I've stumbled onto a site that's not gonna help me.
Yep.
Also, why is this based on 157?
157.
Ranks 100.
Yeah, but that's fine.
So why is this like looking at international stats?
Yeah.
Like, why is there a pie chart that says like where they're all coming from nationality wise?
Alright.
Canada gives up the most goals.
Great. Alright, and the last people to talk about, because they probably will not be relevant for a long while, is the Minnesota Wild.
Well, they're relevant. They make the playoffs. They make the second round. But that's no different than when they were relevant in 2013.
Yeah. And what they have now is $15 million for this year in buyout penalty.
Hooray! Zach Parise, Ryan Suter.
Yeah.
Those guys are so stupid. Not them for signing it, but like, just the fact that you would give 12-year contracts in itself, like,
Yeah, I mean, hey.
who the fuck would take somebody in their mid-20s and be like, you know what, we want you till you're past 40?
Hey, like, we tried to sign Kovalchuk to a 17-year, $102 million contract. So,
Yeah.
so I don't know what you're talking about.
Although I will say, now that I look back on, it was 13-year deals. Excuse me for thinking it was a measly 12. The smartest thing they did in this was they put $25 million in signing bonuses that don't count against the cap at all.
Yeah. Yeah, but like, we'll see. I mean, I don't think, like, this year it's pretty bad, and then for the next few years they have like $3 million in buyout penalty because of this.
Yeah. Yeah, they're, I mean, it looks like Suter's going to get paid till 2029.
Yeah, so it's
At,
pretty same.
$833,000 a year.
Yeah, but the buyout penalty is like $1.5 million, I think, for
Okay.
the Wild.
Yeah.
So
Not great.
yeah, so I mean, I think we revisit the Wild next year because, like, I think that's just too much of a deficit. You're basically the Arizona Coyotes with how much you can spend.
Mm-hmm.
So, and nothing against the Coyotes. They're actually
Well, no, they're actively trying to take on bad contracts.
Yeah. Yeah, but also they do like, they have some good young players, and they're pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, especially on a college campus.
Yeah. All right. Other free
You know,
agent-
as their franchise fizzles out into mediocrity.
Other signings, yeah. So we already talked about Corpusalo. He signed a $4 million contract for 1 year, I think, with the Ottawa Senators, which
No.
I think its average was $4 million then.
Yeah, it was not a 1-year contract though.
Oh, okay.
It was definitely not. It was 5 years, $20 million.
Oh, 5 years, $20 million. Sorry. I definitely think that I would take Corpusalo at 5 years, $20 million over Yari at 5 years, 26.875. But yeah, I don't know.
It really is comparable to me.
Mhm.
I guess you pay for the comfort of knowing that you know what you're getting versus the idea that it could be better or it could be worse.
Yep.
Now, again, we don't need to go back to dry, but it's still an overpay regardless. But
Yeah. All right, and Duchesne signed a 1 year, $3 million contract with the Dallas Stars. He got bought out, so he doesn't really care.
not that he cared when he was in Nashville anyway.
Yeah, and I've heard reactions that say that like they were surprised that Duchesne got bought out, but like I don't think he was really performing, and I think that
Yeah, no shit.
Nashville thought they could use the freed up cap space to actually do something, and take the little bit of a hit later.
So they're going to be taking that hit for the next 6 years at almost $9.5 million.
Yeah,
Not per year overall.
yeah.
I don't know. They also turned around right afterwards and brought in Ryan O'Reilly, which is like, I don't understand why you're going to put money on the books and not keep a guy and then immediately invest in a supporting cast, but like, why wouldn't you do that with Matt Duchene? But if there's any team that kind of seems to be in flux regardless of any kind of complementary fit, it seems to be Nashville.
Yep.
And I know I'm going back to the Stanley Cup run, but like, there were a lot of heads that didn't necessarily mesh until like 1 month. So
Yeah, and
that's
then,
just kind of how Nashville's always been.
yeah. All right, and then the Rangers have signed Blake Wheeler. I don't know what to think about that one.
He's an old guy, and the Rangers are paying for him to be kind of like the Martin St. Louis that they bring in. They are paying for a form of leadership and a form of contributing,
yeah,
but
it's a pretty cheap contract, no?
$800,000 and a no trade clause. Because why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
Or I'm sorry, it's 1.1.
1.1 million. Nah, it's not bad. I think it's okay. And then Jason Zucker goes to the Arizona Coyotes. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, it's fine. He gets injured here a lot.
Fair.
I mean, look, a lot of Penguins fans seem to appreciate the fact that he tries very hard. But let's look at his stats here, because I'm pretty sure he was not very good since he arrived here. Because, like, we're talking two different animals when we're talking Minnesota's Jason Zucker versus Penguins' Jason Zucker. And we're talking about, let's see here. Yeah, okay, he scored 27 last year, but only 48 points. His best season, the season before he was traded to the Penguins, he had 33 and 31. So I think the expectation was he was only getting stronger as a goal scorer, and then as he has his tenure in Pittsburgh kind of came up to be, like only 9 goals in 40 games in 2021. Only played in 41 games in 2022 because of injuries, and he was further injured for some games in 2023. So he obviously wasn't going to get better. I don't fault him for going to get more money, but like, I think the Penguins had more pressing needs than scoring. Like, I think that scoring is probably the most achievable thing to find in the NHL.
Yeah.
In this iteration of its game. And that there were more pressing matters. I don't think that Jari's money should have been as high, as I've said. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that replacing Zucker to fill Jari's wallet was the right thing to do either. But it allowed them to get stronger in areas that they desperately needed to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And yeah, then we have Alex Killorn signing a multi-year deal with the Ducks. Meanwhile, the rest of the stuff is going on.
Yeah. So Alex Killorn signing, in theory, is a sign that they're ready to commit to the future, and that's for 4 years and $25 million, which is a hefty buy-in for a guy who, you know, very successful in Tampa, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this. I think when you have championship pedigree and you mix that with a young superstar who seemingly plays a game that doesn't really have ambitions of championship pedigree, I think we're looking at something that could go very well or it could go very bad.
See, the other problem is that Anaheim has is like they're losing their goaltender, who will just not play for them if he's not traded. So that's something else they have to fill. And basically their entire roster needs to just be revamped at this point.
Yeah.
Aside from, like, they have, like, Henrique for one more year. They need to
Sonny
re-sign
Milano was
Zegras.
their second best player going into last year, and
Yeah.
they put him on waivers.
Yeah, that's whatever. Oh my. And then, to round things out that we want to talk about, Tyler Bertuzzi gets signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs.
So, I mean, we're figuring this out as it goes. The Maple Leafs seemingly have money, but it's not for the guys who, like, feel like they're worth it. So, like, we read before we got on for the recording that William Nylander wants to be a Maple Leaf, but he wants over $10 million a year, and his camp is saying that the Maple Leafs obviously don't believe that to be true. And in that same span of negotiations, we're seeing that, okay, well, Max Domi's going to Toronto. We're seeing that Ryan Reeves. We're seeing Tyler Bertuzzi. And what we're seeing here is a team that's strapped for money, spending it on multiple areas. And that basically says, because these are contracts that are $3 million, 4 or 5 million. Actually, what was Bertuzzi? Really, it doesn't say. I think it was 5.5.
Yeah, I think so.
So money that would have otherwise gone to Nylander if they just kept the band together is going other places, and I think that probably was the right call.
Yeah, but now when Nylander is done, he is going to, like, he will be the blockbuster free agent.
That's fine.
And he will...
He wasn't going to stay there long term anyway. Plus, I'm pretty sure he's already pushing 30.
Yeah, I think so. Isn't he still in his late 20s?
William Nylander is 27. Okay, I mean...
He still has a couple of years.
He has a couple years, but, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's on a 10-team no-trade clause list.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're probably looking, if they can't get a deal done, that no trade clause, that list is going to be used, because they could probably get a lot for him.
Oh, yeah, he'll waive that shit easily.
Not even
Doesn't
that.
even matter
he's just
what
giving,
team he goes to. He's just going to want some money.
Yeah, but like, it doesn't matter, but they can find a team outside of that list to trade him with and still get a lot.
Well, yeah, there's a shitbag team that's not on that list for sure.
Yeah.
Might be Anaheim because, as we're about to get into here.
Yeah. So right now, as of today, July 3rd, when we're recording this, they are $7 million under the cap floor. How? And they had like a normal amount of contracts.
They just gave Killorn 25.
And then they
sheets.
gave Killorn 6.25 million per year.
And what if I told you that since John Gibson doesn't want to play for this team, this is going to get bigger?
This is going to get bigger. Like, what the heck are we looking at? How, like, okay, when I looked at the cap situation for the rest of the teams, I was expecting, maybe Arizona to be on the low end, but they gave Zucker a big contract. Or, some other team, even maybe Minnesota, because they're dealing with $15 million in buyout penalties, so they can't even use some of the cap space.
Boy, what it would be like to, see these two GMs in action.
But no, we get Anaheim at $54 point some million right now, which is $7 million under the $61.8 million floor. So I'm looking for what money they're going to throw at people just to play for them for a season.
Yeah.
What John from the, General Adults League, Senior League is going to take to, just dress up.
I think we have a Tarasenko signing.
And a Tarasenko signing.
Guess it looks like I've yet to see something definitive, but you know how those clutch points ads always get you on Facebook. I guess it looks like maybe the Hurricanes.
Hurricanes for Tarasenko, huh? That'll be their secondary scoring, like we were talking about.
Yep, Hurricanes.
Hurricanes for Tarasenko. That's huge. He's
It
probably-
is. They definitely have no money left.
Yeah, they're done. Yeah, so we can go back up to their list here and just add Tarasenko. What do you think?
Add guy who used to wear a St. Louis jersey.
And a Rangers jersey for a little bit.
AI. Add Tarasenko to graphic.
All right. Anyway, yeah. So
It can't comprehend a name like that.
I'm just like curious on what Anaheim's going to do to get to the cap floor. Basically, I mean they'll get to it, but like
I was gonna say Tarasenko.
yeah, but Tarasenko don't want to play for them.
Okay.
All right. So let's look at NBA free agency here.
Oh. Okay.
So, you want to look at the Rockets?
So this is where I take the mic. So we have NBA. We have teams. The NBA. We have teams with either no cap space, and we have teams with lots of cap space. So when I see a team like the Houston Rockets, and the Houston Rockets had a lot of cap space going into the free agency period. Let's see here. I guess the 2023 cap table. And they have a lot of guys on rookie deals. A lot of guys who are young. So they went out and they got Fred VanVleet from the Raptors because he wanted to stay in Toronto, but he re-upped for 2 years in Toronto because he wanted max money, but he wanted to chase a ring with a good supporting cast more. So he had stayed for another 2 years, bet on himself. He's now going to get $40 million a year in Houston, and then everybody's favorite Dylan Brooks is going to get $80 million over the next 4 years. Which I don't know. I don't know about spending $20 million a year on a guy who offensively is kind of inept, but yeah, I guess different strokes for different folks. They're gonna have plenty of scoring elsewhere. I just don't know what Dylan Brooks actually is, other than a good bench player. Because with that statistical contribution offensively, he's not a great starter. Mm-hmm. He can start. I just don't see it being very productive. And then they went out and they got Jock Landale from the Suns, which I know a lot of Suns fans wanted Jock to stay because they needed a good bench. But the Suns don't have any money, really. They had to upgrade the whole bench, which they kind of did. But they definitely didn't have, 4 years, $32 million available for a backup or third string center. So there's that. And then Jeff Green comes off of winning a championship. He's going to make $6 million. Excuse me.
Okay.
So we'll edit that out, I hope. But we'll see. I don't know. That, and they acquired Patty Mills, but they're going to flip him to Oklahoma City. And they drafted Amen Thompson and signed Cam Whitmore, who was a draft pick. So, yeah.
They've done a lot. All right.
Also, didn't Cam Whitmore get drafted by the Nets?
Probably, dude. The Nets,
No, they had back-to-back first-round picks.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, interesting. All right, anyway.
Yeah, so let's talk about the next guy.
Yeah, Damian Lillard. So the fun thing here is we have a guy who... Oh, okay. They got Noah Clowney at 21. I read the wrong pick. Damian Lillard has been a longtime Portland Trailblazer, and he's a great player in a small market, not a lot of guys around him since CJ McCollum left that were worth this team being a contender. And since then, they've kind of been in flux of trying to support this man in his quest to have a decent team around him, but at the same time trying to rebuild. And I guess just it's taken too long, and it's just the straw that broke, and now he wants out. And as of today, he pretty much exclusively wants to play for Miami. There were before free agency started rumors of other teams, but Miami has lost some guys in free agency. I'm not saying they have all the money to make it happen. It would probably take Tyler Harrow and compensation to make this trade happen. But I don't know. I think you do right by him if you trade him because he was apparently a very good community member for a smaller city. But this is how the NBA is now. It's players have all the leverage.
Yep.
And we've known that for 5-10 years now. And because they have all the leverage, there's not much else he can really do. He doesn't want to be there anymore, and players in the NBA can just hold out because their deals are guaranteed money.
Yep.
So.
All right, and some other signings. The Kyrie Irving goes to the Timberwolves, if I'm not mistaken.
You're very mistaken. That's the Mavericks.
That's the Mavericks.
And he decided to go back to the Mavericks, which
Wait.
I think is amazing because
He
couldn't leave them. He couldn't get them to the playoffs, despite the fact that when he was acquired by the Mavericks, they were in playoff position. He did what everybody thought was going to happen and drive them out of the playoff picture. So much so that they were out of it with multiple games left in the season.
Yep. So
why not go back?
Hey, it's a great idea.
It is a great idea. It's one less team I have to worry about, and fuck Luka Doncic. Chris Middleton re-upped with Milwaukee, which I think is smart because a player like him probably his game only translates very well in a system that allows it to.
Mm-hmm.
So why not go back to what works? I think the same is true of Draymond Green, especially now that the Golden State Warriors have Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Draymond, I guess, stayed for 4 more years, 100. And people seem to not realize Draymond is the oldest of that core group because he was the college senior, and
Yep.
Curry I think was a junior and Clay was a sophomore or junior, I want to say. So they're all aging, but college senior you're coming in the league a little bit more ripe. So that doesn't help. It's been an off season of familiarity winning. Kyle Kuzma was rumored to just literally go anywhere other than Washington.
Guess where he
and
goes?
Took less money to stay.
Yep.
Like he got 4 years, I want to say $102 million. I feel like a player of his stature, he's not the best player. He's a solid number 2 scoring option, but he's probably never going to be a star. I don't know. I don't know exactly why he stayed, and why he took less money to stay. Maybe there was something about Washington, D.C. that he liked better than the public ever knew.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, the Heat did lose some pieces. Max Strus signed for 4 years with Cleveland.
Yep.
And Gabe Vincent signed for either 2 or 3 years with the Lakers. So it's been interesting. For what the NBA free agency class normally is, we normally see a star or two out there that will transcend the league by going somewhere else. But the fact that that trend didn't really take this year makes it kind of a dull year. And there's a lot of guys that will still be signed and still out there. But I don't know, I feel like more trades will be noteworthy than what's going on with free agency.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So yeah, that's our free agent recap for at least early free agency. Both of them, it's only been a few days, so we'll definitely come back to this probably closer to when the seasons are starting.
Do you think this was better than last year when we strictly like looked at bad contracts, like the buyouts because of Bobby Bonilla Day?
Bobby Bonilla Day.
I don't know that that one was our best episode. It was fun to do, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This was good though.
I'm ready for rain.
Yes, you are. All right, well, you got anything to cap us off with? Until next year, we're in the same room again to record.
Is it really going to take that long?
Hopefully not, but
Hopefully
with
not.
how it's going.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling like a ton of flowers.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in and catch you next time.